Hi, this is Tamara from mooglyblog.com, and in this video I'm going to be demonstrating how to crochet the Little Princess Baby Blanket, which is a free pattern you'll find on mooglyblog.com. To make this pattern, you'll need a USK 6.5mm crochet hook. This one is by Furls. You'll also need 3 colors of any Aran or worsted, basically a number 4 weight yarn. Originally, this blanket was made with Lion brand Vanna's Choice. I will be using a similar yarn today to demonstrate with. The finished blanket measures 36 inches by 36 inches, but the stitch multiple is included in the pattern. Let's get started. The full-sized pattern begins with a chain of 110. I'm going to use our stitch multiple of 18 plus 2 and start with a chain of 20. After you finish chaining, we skip the stitch closest to the hook and single crochet in the second chain. Now, personally, I like to work into the back hump of the chain, but you can work under whichever part you prefer. I also really like using stitch markers in the first and last stitch of every row. It just helps me keep my sides nice and even. There we go. Now we're ready to begin the repeat that starts on row 1 with the asterisk. We skip 2 chains, 1, 2, so I'll put my thumb right here on the next one, and in that one we'll work 5 double crochets. So a little bit of a shell or a fan stitch here, if you're a fan of those, so to speak. So there's 2, 3, 4, and 5. And you can see I've worked them all right into that chain. There we go. You can see it pulls that chain a little bit, so I always like to just give a little tug to my chain afterwards. Then we skip the next 2 stitches and single crochet in the stitch after that. And that's our repeat. Let's do it again. We skip the next 2 stitches and work 5 double crochets in the stitch or chain after that. So there's 2, 3. Oh, I need to pull up some more yarn here. And 4. And 5. Give that a little tug, skip 2, and single crochet in the next one. And we just continue that all the way across to the end, and we'll end up with a single crochet in the very last stitch. So here's a small sample of what your row 1 should look like. And now we're ready for row 2. Now I've turned my work and I'm ready to begin row 2. This pattern is written with a chain 3 start. That counts as our first double crochet. If you prefer, you can use one of the popular chain 3 double crochet substitutes that are out there. Personally, I like the chainless starting double crochet these days, but for now, we'll stick to the written pattern. After we've done that chain 3, we're going to work 2 more double crochets in that same first stitch. So there's 1 and 2. Now, I do want to mark the first stitch of this row after I pull up some more yarn here. There we go. So remember that chain 3 is going to count as our first stitch. So I'm going to put my stitch marker in that last chain, the third one there at the top. There we go. Then, going back to our pattern, we're now ready to begin the section that begins with the asterisk, our repeat. We skip the next 2 stitches and single crochet in the next stitch. So that means we can see right here in front of us, we've got that set of 5 double crochets we made in the last one. So we're going to skip the first 2 and work a single crochet in the third one, the one right in the middle. Just like so. Then we chain 1, and then we're going to work across this next set of 5 over here. We're going to skip all 3 of these stitches, the next 2 double crochets and that single crochet. Then we're going to look for this next set of 5 right here, and in the first one, we're going to work a double crochet, followed by a chain 2, 1, 2, and then we're going to work half double crochet 2 together over that same stitch and the next stitch, so the first and second of that set of 5. So we yarn over and go right into that first stitch. And then, again, I wrote this pattern a ways back. I wrote it back in 2017, and as I'm making this video, it's 2026. So I'm going to make it the way it's written, but you can make your half double crochet 2 together however you like. As it's written, we yarn over again and go into the next stitch and pull up a loop so that we have 5 loops on our hook. Then we yarn over and pull through all 5 loops, like so. So again, if you like to do your half double crochet 2 together, a different way these days, you can try it out and see how it looks. But for this one, it's kind of nice to have the fullness right there. After we've got that done, we do a chain 2 again. And then we do that same move over that same stitch and the next one. So now it's the second and the third of that set of 5. We yarn over, go in that same stitch and pull up a loop. Yarn over, go into the next stitch and pull up a loop. Yarn over and pull through all 5 loops. Chain 2 again. And do it again. Now we're in the third and fourth. Yarn over, pull up a loop in the first one. Yarn over, pull up a loop from the next one. Yarn over and pull through all 5. Chain 2 one more time. 1, 2, and then we chain 2, 1, 2, and now we have one more of those to do over the fourth and fifth of those double crochets. So we yarn over, go in the same one, pull up a loop, yarn over, and then go into the next one and pull up a loop, and yarn over and pull through all 5. Now, as I mentioned, there's different ways to do the half double crochet 2 together, but this isn't meant to be a hidden decrease. It's part of a lace pattern, so doing it this way is fine. Now, we've got one more set of chain 2 here. And now in this very last stitch, we're going to come back in this one more time with a double crochet. So you can see how that mirrors how we began this little tiny section right here. We started out with that double crochet chain 2, and then we worked 4 of those decreases right there. And then we come right back in that last one with another double crochet. There we go. Once you've got that finished, then we chain 1. And now we're going to skip the next 3 stitches again. 1, 2, 3, so that we land back in the center of this next set of 5 and put a single crochet right in that center double crochet like so. To finish up our row, we would just keep repeating that. We'd start back over here. There's that single crochet like we just made. We would chain 1 and do this over the next set of 5. When we get all the way to the end, we will single crochet in the top of that last set of 5. And then immediately we come right on over here and work 3 double crochets in that very last stitch. There's 1, 2, and 3. Oop, almost 3. There we go, and 3. And of course, I can move that stitch marker out of the way now. We don't need that stitch marked anymore. And there we go. That's what it should look like, on a smaller scale at least, at the end of row 2. Row 3 starts with a chain 1 and a single crochet in the very first stitch. So as soon as I've got that finished, I will put my stitch marker right in the top of that single crochet. Then we're going to, again, skip the next 3 stitches, 1, 2, and 3. So that's those 2 double crochets, that single crochet. We're also going to skip that chain 1 right there. And again, now we're going to work a double crochet in the top of that double crochet. So you can kind of pull your work apart. If you need to get oriented, we've got that double crochet right there. That's where we're putting this double crochet. Oop, I forgot to yarn over first. Let me pull that out. There we go. All right, so we've got a double crochet right there. So in row 3, we've got a single crochet, and then we jump all the way over here and work a double crochet. Then we're going to chain 2, and we're going to do those half double crochet 2 together decreases again. Just like we did below, we've got a little bit wider to go though. So this time we'll be doing 5 of them. We yarn over, go in the same stitch, pull up our loop, yarn over, jump over to the next half double crochet 2 together. And if you have trouble figuring out where to go, let's turn that back over for just a second, because this can get a little confusing. When you've got, let me get my hook out of the way here. I'm going to pull this stitch back out, because I think if we do this now, it'll be a little easier to see as we go. So here we are back on the right side for row 2. When we look at half double crochets, when they've got chains in between them, it's super easy to get confused about what does the top of the half double crochet and what is the chain itself, especially once we turn our work. So let's take a quick look at what we have right here at this one. This is one of those half double crochet 2 togethers. And this, I'm going to put a stitch marker right there, is the top of that stitch. This right here are the 2 chains. So when we turn our work from this side, it can look like, if we worked into there, that we'd be working into one of those chains. But this right here is actually to the top of that half double crochet. It's set off there a little bit to the left from the wrong side, or from the right if you are, of course, left-handed. So that is something to keep an eye on. So let's do that again. We're going to yarn over, go into that same stitch and pull up a loop. Yarn over again. Now we know to look for that stitch to the left at the top. That's where we want to go in to the top of our half double crochet from below and pull up our loop. We've got 5 loops on our hook, so we'll yarn over and pull through all 5. There we go. Then we chain 2, pull up a little bit more yarn as needed, and we do it again. Yarn over, go in that same stitch, pull up our loop, yarn over, find the top of the next one, insert our hook, and pull up a loop. Get all those loops generally the same size here, so they come up nice together, and yarn over and pull through all 5. Chain 2 again. Same thing. Go into the top of that same stitch again and pull up our loop, yarn over, find the top of the next half double crochet 2 together. 5 loops on our hook, yarn over and pull through all 5. Chain 2. Let's see where we're at. We've got 3 done on this row. We've got 2 more. Yarn over, go in that same stitch and pull up our loop, yarn over. That right there, you can see we had that one marked. Get that stitch marker on out of there. Pull up our loop, yarn over, and pull through all 5. So if it helps you out, if you find yourself really stuck, go ahead and mark the tops of all those half double crochets before you turn your work, and it will help you find these so much easier. But hopefully demonstrating that makes it easier to see as well. Looking at our work, I can see we need 1 more here to finish out this section. So we're going to yarn over, go in that same stitch again, yarn over. Now we can see we're in the top of that double crochet from the row below. Yarn over, pull through all 5. And now we need to chain 2, 1, 2, and work a double crochet right back in that same stitch, the top of the double crochet from below. So you can see how we've built on top of what we did in the row below. Now, to continue on, of course, you're going to have a lot more stitches than I've got here on my small swatch. But on your piece here, this will be another set of 5, another set of 5, another set of 5. So you would just come over here and single crochet right in the top of that third of the set of 5. So that is, in fact, how we finish out this row. We double crochet right in the top of that third of this set. Of course, it's the end of our row, so it's just 3 of them. But on the full-sized one, you'd have, another whole set there. Now, I had to take my stitch marker out of the way because this is where we're working to the top of that chain 3, and it just didn't want to let my hook fit in there. But now it does. You can see we've finished off. There we have it, row 3. So now we're ready for row 4, which starts with a chain 1 and single crochet right back in that first stitch again. So I'll go ahead and put a stitch marker right in the top of the new first stitch of our row. Then what we're going to do is single crochet evenly across this row, working 1 single crochet in each stitch and 2 single crochets in each chain space. So let's do that together. Let's look at the row below. Here's a stitch, so we're going to work a single crochet into it. Here we've got a chain 2 space, so we'll work 2 single crochets right into that chain 2 space, which means we get to go right into the space below the chains. We don't have to try and get into the chains themselves. Now we've got the top of a stitch, and we know, because we've been looking at our half double crochet 2 togethers, that this stitch right here is actually the top of that stitch. So we put our single crochet in there. Brings us to another chain 2. So we need 1 and 2. The top of another stitch. We single crochet in there. 2 single crochets in the chain space. 1 and 2. Single crochet in the top of the next stitch. 2 single crochets in the chain 2 space. I think you get the idea. For this row, you just need to look at the row below. If it's a stitch other than a chain, put a single crochet in it. If it's chain 2 space, put 2 single crochets in the chain 2 space. So this is what it looks like at the end of row 4. Now, at the end of row 4, if you want to, you can change colors. That's where it calls for to do that in the pattern. So to do that, so that we can carry our yarns along the side, I recommend you go ahead. I'm going to pull that last single crochet back out. I'm going to start it, stop with 2 loops left on the hook, drop our old color, bring in our new color, yarn over, and finish our stitch with color B. And now we're all set for row 5. So row 5 begins with a chain 1 and a single crochet in the first stitch. Now, if you are going to carry your yarns along the side, switching colors every 4 rows, as written in the pattern, it's a good idea to every row or so when you're on this end, try and capture that other yarn here so that it comes up along the side and you don't have just loose floats up along the sides. Now, if that is what happens, it's okay. You can still cover those with your border, but a lot of people like to catch that yarn a little bit as they go up, at least here in this first stitch. So I'm going to insert my hook and just lay that color A over my hook as I make this first single crochet so that it's brought up just a little bit with me there. And anywhere that it shows along the side, again, I'll make sure that I cover it up when I add a border. So now we've got our single crochet in the first stitch. So to continue on, we begin with the asterisk. So we jump right into our repeat. For this one, we're going to skip the next 3 stitches. 1, 2, 3. So I'll put my thumb on the next one and we'll work 5 double crochets right into there. Yarn over there, and we'll go 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. There we go. After that, we skip the next 2 stitches and single crochet in the next stitch. So skip 2, single crochet in the stitch after that. Then we skip 2 stitches, 1, 2, and work 5 double crochets in the next stitch. 4, and 5. Now, I want to show you something special about the instructions. Let me pull those back up here for just a moment. Here we have the instructions for row 5, which we're currently working on. I want you to notice that right there, the repeat begins with the asterisk, but within that repeat, we have a section in brackets that we repeat twice. So, working through that together. We started at the asterisk with skip 3 stitches and work 5 double crochets in the next stitch. Then we came to the brackets where we repeat it twice. So we skip 2 stitches, single crochet in the next stitch, skip 2 stitches, 5 double crochets in the next. Then we go back to the beginning of that bracket, skip 2 stitches, single crochet in the next stitch, and then skip 2 stitches, 5 double crochets in the stitch after that. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. There we go. That takes us to the end of that brackets. Now we've done that bracket section twice. So then we skip 3 stitches, 1, 2, 3. We do that again, 1, 2, 3, and single crochet in the next stitch. And that's the end of our repeat. So I've come to the end here of my little swatch. But let's pretend we're continuing on across the full length of, or width rather, of the blanket. We would single crochet in the next stitch and then go right back to the beginning of that repeat with the asterisks, where we skip 3 stitches, work 5 double crochets in the next stitch, and then work that section in the brackets twice again. Eventually, we'll end with a single crochet in that very last stitch. And this is what it looks like at the end of row 5. Now we're ready for row 6. Row 6 is identical to row 2, but it is written out in the pattern for your ease of reading. We start again with a chain of 3. And I like to make that third one just a little bit bigger because I know I'm going to have to come back in there for the top of my stitch. Again, if you prefer, you can swap that out with your favorite double crochet substitute. Then we can turn if we haven't already, and we're going to work 2 double crochets right in that same first stitch. Remember, this is just like the row 2 that we did. And then we are going to, if I return to my instructions here and see what we're going to do, we're going to skip the next 2 stitches, single crochet in that third one, right in the top of that set of 5, right there. Then we chain 1, and now we have another set of 5 to work that big first row of our fun sort of fan stitch here. We're going to skip those 3 stitches. In the first of that set of 5, we work our double crochet. Oops, let me get that hook back in there. There we go. Double crochet. And then we chain 2. And then our half double crochet 2 together in the same stitch and the next stitch. 5 stitches, or rather loops on our hook. We yarn over and pull through all 5 and chain 2. Then we do it again. Yarn over, go in that same stitch, yarn over, go to the next stitch, 5 loops on our hook, we yarn over and pull through, and chain 2. Yarn over, same stitch, yarn over, next stitch, 5 loops on our hook, we yarn over and pull through. Now I need to pull up a little bit more yarn here of my color B. We chain 2 again, and we know in this first, or rather second row repeat, row 6 as it is, we have 4 of those decreases, and we can look at the row below and see there's another double crochet there, so we know by looking at our previous row as well. We need to do one more where we go in the previous row and pull up our loop, yarn over, go to the last one, pull up our loop, yarn over, pull through all 5, then we chain 2, and work our double crochet right back in that same stitch, like so. Once we've got that done, then we find that next set of 5 and single crochet in the center one. Then we do it again, just like that, all the way across. When we get to the very end, of course, we'll have our single crochet there in the top of that last set. We go over here to the last stitch and work 3 double crochets right in the top of that single crochet. And in fact, we have made all the rows of this pattern at this point. This here, row 6 that we're making right now, is a repeat of row 2. Rows 7 and 8 are repeats of rows 3 and 4. Our repeat is rows 5 through 8. So I've written out all the rows in the pattern, but we start essentially with row 5, which is our first row here in the new color, and then 6, 7, and 8 are exactly the same as 2, 3, and 4, which we made right down here. You can see we just finished row 2, just like we did row 2 down here. So that really is all the rows that we need to do to make this pattern. You can keep switching rows. You can use 2 colors, 4 colors, 3 colors, however many you like. If you use a lot of colors, I do recommend that you break the yarn at the end of each section rather than trying to float it along the side, because that will add up into a lot of floats. After you have finished making all the rows, which goes through row 64, then you can add the edging. You can add, of course, whatever edging you'd like, or you can add the edging written out in the pattern. Let's take a look at that edging pattern together. So this is what it should look like at the end of row 9. And as I say, we're going to just do that repeat again and again through row 64, or until you have the length of the blanket you desire. When we're ready for that edging, of course, I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to leave the last color that I stopped with, which if you follow the written pattern would be color A. So we would go ahead and cut colors B and C, or any of the extra colors you're using, so that they're just out of the way as we continue here. So then, to begin edging round 1, we're going to go ahead and not turn our work. Usually when we finish a row, we turn our work, but for this one, we're going to, rather than turning this way, we're going to turn 90 degrees and work down the side of our blanket first. So we begin by chaining 2, and that chain 2 will be sort of a corner space. So personally, I really like to go ahead and add a stitch marker right around that chain 2, and it'll help me as I come back around for edging rounds 2 and 3. Or it will if it closes. There it goes. All right, now we're ready to go. So now I'm going to just single crochet evenly along the side of the blanket. So this is sort of just however evenly you can, and it's sort of a personal judgment. Sometimes it's affected by your personal gauge, but what you want to do is sort of just be really even with it. And this is the plan that usually works best for me. When I'm working into the side of a row that ended with a single crochet, I will put 1 single crochet in the end of that row, or whatever stitch it is that I'm making for the edging. When I come to a row that ended with a double crochet, then I will put 2 double crochet stitches in the side of that row. Now, I know because of the stitch pattern that this first row ended in a single crochet. Let me pull that out. I think I went to the wrong space. I did. Got to look closely. Up here is where I want to put that first single crochet. I think I was right, actually. I overthought myself there. All right, up next we had the end of this row ended in a single crochet. So we would put a single crochet right there. Then we know that this row ended in a double crochet. So we're going to work 2 single crochets in the side. And I just try and put one sort of in the top half of the stitch, and then one in the bottom half of the stitch here. And then we can look at our stitch pattern if we need to and see that this row ended in a single crochet, so I just put 1 there. So for this pattern, it's relatively simple, and as I say, this tends to lay really flat for me, but your mileage may vary, your gauge may vary. So if you need to change that a little bit, go ahead and do so. But otherwise, do try and stick to that pattern. Let's look at, we've got that same 4-row repeat again. We know it ends with a single crochet row, so we've got a single crochet right there. And you can work over those ends if you'd like to at this point. If you have been carrying yarn along the sides, make sure that when you get to that section, you cover up any of those floats with these stitches as well. So there's a single crochet in the end of that row. We'll put a single crochet at the end of the next row. Now we've come to a double crochet row, or a row rather that ended with double crochet. So we want to make sure to get 2 in there. Just kind of give it an eyeball and say, okay, this is the top half of the stitch right here, I think, wherever our hook wants to get in. And I like to always put 2 strands on top of my hook when I work into it like this and split it to put in a border. And then we go to the second half or bottom half of that double crochet. Find our way through. There we go. And then we're at the first row we made, which we know ended with a single crochet. So that brings us all the way back down to this next corner. Obviously, on a full-size blanket, there will be a lot more rows here. But once we've gotten here, then once again, we're going to chain 2, 1, 2. And I'm going to grab another stitch marker here and put that right around that chain 2. And now we're going to be working across the foundation chain. And this is where I really like having worked into the bottom under or underneath hump of those stitches, because when we come to a stitch that's already been worked into, we're still going to have a beautiful row, or even when we haven't, even when there are chains that we've skipped, we have a beautiful row with 2 loops at the top for us to work into as if it were a row rather than the bottom of the foundation chain. So now what we want to do across here is we're going to follow a little bit of a pattern. We're going to single crochet in the first stitch, like so. And then we've got a repeat. We work 3 single crochets in the next chain space. So we can see there's a chain space right here where we originally skipped some stitches. So there's 1, 2, and 3. Then we single crochet in the next stitch. And we can see this is the stitch that all those double crochets were worked into. So we just want to put 1 single crochet right in there. Then we work a section in brackets again. So we need to pay close attention to that. We're going to work 2 single crochets in the next chain space and single crochet in the next stitch 4 times. So let's do that together. 1, 2 in the chain space and 1 in the stitch. That's once. 2 in the chain space, 1, 2, and 1 in the stitch. That's 2. 2 in the chain space, 1, 2, and 1 in the stitch. That's 3. 2 in the chain space, 1, 2, and 1 in the stitch, and that's 4. So we finished the section inside the brackets. And then we work 3 single crochets in the next chain space, which can be a little hard to find here on my swatch just as I'm coming to the end. 1, 2, 3, and then single crochet in the next stitch, which, since it's just my little swatch here, I've already come to. So I'm going to put my single crochet right there. Of course, if you have your full-size blanket, you need to jump back to that first 3 single crochets in the chain space. So we had to add a couple extra stitches in there in some of those chain spaces to make it all work out for the stitch count. But you can see it establishes a really nice row there across the bottom. Of course, when we get to that corner, we'll chain 2 again. Oops, 1 and 2. And I will mark out that corner space. And then we work up this end just like we did across that other side, spacing our stitches exactly the same way. And again, wherever your floats ended up, make sure that you cover those up as you stitch up the side. So now we've gotten to that last corner for edging row 1, and I will chain 2, and then I can go ahead and join to that first stitch. And then we break color A and move on to edging row 2. Now we're ready for edging rows 2. And I say rows because we're not working all the way around. Right now, we're going to work only across the top and bottom edges of the blanket using our color B, or whatever color you want to use. So I'm going to take my new color and I'm going to join to the corner chain 2 space with a single crochet. So that means I'm just going to, you can either make a slip knot or you can just drop a loop over your hook I'm going to find that first chain 2 space right there. I didn't weave in my end, so it's a little easier to find. There it is. That was actually our first stitch. I didn't mark the last chain 2 space with a stitch marker. So I go right in that chain 2 space, pull up a loop, get those loops on the hook closer together, yarn over, and pull through 2. I do have a separate video on that technique on my YouTube channel if desired. Once we've joined with a single crochet, or you can join with a slip stitch and then chain 1 and single crochet in the first stitch if you prefer. Then we're going to get this stitch marker out of the way and single crochet right in that first stitch, like so. And then we come back to our instructions here and we start our repeat. Our asterisk is right up next. So now we're going to skip 3 stitches. Let me find that 1, 2, and 3. So I'll mark the 4th one there with my thumb. We work 5 double crochets in that stitch. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then we've got some brackets, and the part in the brackets will get repeated twice. So that part is skip 2 stitches, 1, 2, single crochet in the next, skip 2 stitches, 1, 2, 5 double crochets in the stitch after that. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. That's the end of the brackets, so we go back to the beginning of the bracket. Skip 2, single crochet in the next. Skip 2, 5 double crochets in the stitch after that. And that will satisfy the section inside the brackets, at least for this repeat. So there's 3, 4, and 5. There we go. So now we need to go back to our instructions. We finished the brackets. At the end of that, we then skip 3 stitches, 1, 2, 3, single crochet in the next stitch. Double check there. There we go. And that is our repeat. So again, your blanket should be a whole lot wider than this, unless, of course, you're just making an oversized coaster. So our repeat starts again. If we go back to the beginning here, where we skip those 3 stitches. Then our 5 double crochets, skip 2, single crochet on across. Pretty easy repeat. When we get to the end, we'll have our single crochet in the last stitch before the chain 2 corner. So in that corner, we just want to drop 1 more single crochet. Now remember, I said this isn't going all the way around, just across the top and the bottom. So we single crocheted in that last stitch, and we break our yarn and finish it off. Then we're just going to spin our blanket around, and we do the exact same thing across the bottom. Once you've added to the bottom, just like you added to the top, then we've got 1 more edging round, and you can use color C or one of the other colors you've used. Again, whatever color you prefer. And again, I'm going to join with a single crochet. So I'm going to put a loop on my hook, but at this point now, I can join to any stitch I want to around this blanket. So I'm just going to arbitrarily pick one right here. We're going to insert our hook, pull up our loop, get the loops closer together on the hook so we can yarn over and pull through. And now we've joined. And now all we need to do is single crochet evenly around the entire blanket, working a chain 2 at every corner. So wherever you've started, just start single crocheting across. At this point, we don't have any chain spaces to worry about until we get to the corners. So here I am approaching the end here at the top. And of course, ideally, I would have taken the time to weave in my ends, but for the sake of time, we're just going to continue across here. Now, to me, we've got our chain 2 space here. I'm going to take that stitch marker out. I'm going to go ahead and call that's the corner. We're going to chain 2. I want to work into the side of that same row, not the row I just made, but the row below, that first edging row. However, you can get in there. Again, I didn't weave in that end. I should have. That would have worked a lot better. But for the sake of time, we're just going to get it in there and put our stitch right there. And then I will just evenly crochet right down the side. So take a look at your blanket, kind of look at your gauge again where things have ended up. If you want to, you can put a stitch right in that chain 2 space and then continue on down the side. If adding a stitch in that chain 2 space makes your blanket a little wonky, if it adds too much, then take it out. But for me, I think it looks like it belongs there. So then we just single crochet again right down along the side, one in each stitch. This is super easy at this point, of course, since we've already got our single crochets along the side. I just want to get down to this next corner here with you. And of course, on my little swatch, I'm almost there. So you can see now we're back down to that chain 2. So I would do the same thing, crochet in that chain 2. And then because I would have that next row down here, I would crochet in the side of that row before I chain 2 and crochet across the top of it, just like I did on this corner. And that winds up our blanket. And that's how to crochet the little princess baby blanket. Remember, you'll find that pattern for free on mooglyblog.com. Look for the link in the description or simply type it into your favorite search engine. Thank you so much for watching, and don't forget to like and subscribe.